coming to the panel tonight.
Yeah.
Woo! Take your shirt off. Sorry.
Okay.
Do that.
You sure?
Thank you so much for coming to the panel for I Know That Voice. Can you do me a favor? Person at the door, are there any people that are still outside? Can you please open all the doors? For those of you who wanted to come into the panel and can't, why don't you just leave the doors open so these folks can at least listen to what's going on in here? Please? I don't think they realized that we had this many people coming, so if there's any way you can keep those doors open so people can listen, I certainly would appreciate it. Hey, man! Hey, no rain! No rain! No rain! Sorry.
Sorry.
You can't keep the doors open? Take it easy now. It's one guy in a whole room of people now. Give the guy a break. He's only doing his job. Well, you know, you could just leave them open and say you didn't know. Bender said so. Come on. All right. Anyway, I have good news and bad news. Do you want to hear the bad news first?
Yes.
The preview, the DVD preview that I brought for you guys to see, broke.
You bent it too much.
The good news is that I have a copy of the film. I'm just going to show you the first 5 minutes.
Yeah.
It's all good. Right now, I'd like to bring some friends up on the stage if I could. Their participation in this film was not only something that I really am so honored to have, but I mean, you can't do a movie about voiceover and not include these people. First up, I'd like to introduce, well, ladies first, 8-time Emmy Award-winning voice director extraordinaire. I mean, Pinky and the Brain Animaniacs, SpongeBob SquarePants, Andrea Romano. Speaking of Pinky and the Brain, this next gentleman, you might know him from his podcast, Talking Tunes. Or maybe you know him from Pinky and the Brain, or maybe you know him from Animaniacs, or maybe you know him from Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles. Rob Paulsen, everybody. The pride of Detroit. Woo! And last, but not least, my dear, dear friend, someone who I had the pleasure of recording 154 episodes of a particular show called Futurama. One of the best in the business, and a dear, dear friend of mine. I'm honored to call him that, Mr. Billy Rust. I'm looking now for the AV guy. There he is, my man. If you would so kindly do that and watch for my hand, I'll tell you when to cut it off. But let's go ahead and
Watch the whole thing.
yeah, right. I wish I could. You're not allowed to at a convention.
And do it and shut up.
We must be in heaven, man!
I love it. All right, so we're going to show you the first 5 minutes of the movie. Here we go. And this logo is not in it, so that hopefully it's... Do I have to turn it on myself from up here? Or,
Do it!
uh-oh.
Best part of the film!
With you. An hour tonight.
7 minutes in heaven, man.
Yeah.
Oh, here we go. Are we okay? Here he comes. The dude with the flashlight's coming, brother. He's gonna take care of everything. All right, let's see here.
Ow!
Okay, whose communicator is on?
Shut it off, you're not that important.
Okay. Gonna turn this, is this thing going here? How are we doing? Huh? Well, the lights are supposed to be off because we're watching a movie, dude. It's all good. Don't worry.
This movie's awesome!
Okay.
You don't have to whisper. Saying a cool act.
Here we go. Why isn't it showing? Why isn't the picture showing?
Ezekiel 25:17.
Okay. Gotta fix this. Gotta fix this.
It's beset on all sides.
There you go. Really? Is it showing? But this is.
Don't
This
you love it?
Really?
Welcome to
You
New
sure
York.
it's not showing because it's on a different channel or anything like that? There we go. Rewind it.
Times
There we go.
and the tyranny of evil men. In a world of cartoon voices, animated, really annoying, etc.
Blessed is he when the name of charity and goodwill.
Shepherd, the weak through the valley of darkness. Praise truly his brother's keeper. And the finder of lost children.
And I will strike down upon those with great vengeance and with furious anger. Those who attempt to poison and destroy my brothers. If you don't know my name is the Lord.
You could call me Jesus, you could call me Christ, you could call me the Lord.
Well, leave my vengeance upon thee.
My sweet, sweet, sexy vengeance.
You gotta watch this. What's the name of it?
You need to do me passing on my flavor.
I think I'll have some more martini.
Take two.
I know that voice.
I know that voice.
I know that voice.
I know that voice. I know that voice. And I know that voice. I know that voice.
I know that voice.
I know that voice.
From beautiful downtown Burbank.
I know that voice.
I'm scared the heights of adequacy. The paper's landed.
You and your tower can go to hell.
Nice.
Oh,
Try again.
Real.
That's good. Only seen 12x. 12x action.
What about that non-hovering hover car? Is that making the music?
It's a little slower, but there.
What about that non-hovering hover car? Is that making the music?
Yeah, that's good.
Everybody always asks me questions about what this job is like. Why not ask all of my peers, find out what they think, so that we can show you, everything you always wanted to know about voice acting, but we're afraid to ask.
You go to a dinner party and say, what do you do? I said, I'm a voice actor. Okay. Hey, they have dip.
What exactly do you do? What do you mean you're a voice actor? What does that mean? Well, I go into a room and they give me a script, and when you hear that, in a world, one man. That's me. You're the one man? No, I'm not the one man. I'm the guy that says one man. Well, wait a second. Well, that's just that voice. Yeah, but does he ever stop to think that there's actually a guy in a room reading that?
We brought people in for tours and to visit and stuff like that, and you really see that it's just, I had no idea this is how they did this.
It's
I don't know
such
what
an
they
intricate
thought,
process. That I would say that if people had any idea how much work really went into animation, they would look at it with a lot more sort of a sense of awe.
If you think about it, way back thousands of years ago, the Chinese had silks that they put these rod puppets in front of, and they would project these big images on the silks, and these people would come by the hundreds and watch these shows that would last for days.
I think probably the tradition would have come out of puppet shows.
God bless America,
Small voices for small characters.
Character voices come from British music hall and vaudeville.
Silent movies, the shorts that they did, that Laurel and Hardy did, and Keaton did, and Chaplin did, those broad, wacky, wonderful things. Later, when sound movies came along, they died out. What replaced them? Cartoons.
Animated cartoons, did start in the days of silent motion pictures, and they'd have little bubble captions with the dialogue in them. So when you'd be watching the films, that's how they spoke to you, was through the dialogue. And in the late 20s is really after The Jazz Singer was released, which was the first talking motion picture Warner Brothers produced. Animation then started to move towards that, trying to get into sound. Back in the early 20s, 1924, Max Fleischer actually produced the first cartoon series with a soundtrack.
This microphone changes the sound waves into electrical vibrations, which are amplified here and sent along these wires to the mixer room.
The very first talking cartoon was 1928, was Paul Terry's Dinner Time, and he preceded Walt Disney's Steamboat Willie by a month.
What happened was, Walt heard about it, The Jazz Singer came out, so there's sound. Walt said, we can take this technology and make a sound movie. So they did. Mickey didn't really have a voice in that early movie. He just whistled, and the rest of it was sound effects and music effects. But soon he could talk. And then when he decided to do features, and the first feature, Snow White, was called Disney's Folly, nobody thought it would succeed. But when he started doing features, and even before that, when he was casting voices for the short films, they were using radio talent. Those are the great voices.
When I was a kid, there was no TV now, remember, no cell phones, no nothing, except radio.
You'd sit and you'd look at the radio. Everybody would sit around and look at the radio, even though there was nothing to see there.
Radio not only prepped me, it prepped everyone else in early cartoons, because they were all from radio. The first session I went on with the Jetsons, I was terrified because, I thought, oh, it's cartoons, I've never done cartoons. I walked into the room and all of my radio friends were there.
Radio is very much like an animation session. You just borrow from whatever experience you've had as a radio actor or an animation person. It all seems to work out.
Back in the days of old-time radio, as they call it now, that was essentially voice acting. Strangely enough, when you do a cartoon and they edit it all together and get it ready for the animators to animate, they call it the radio show.
My first real gig was being dropped on my head in church, making my relationship to the deity problematic.
The first one I ever did where I went, wow, these people are reacting like as if I was a baby speaking my first words. It was Peter Falk, it was Columbo. I'd seen Columbo the night before. And my teacher, Mr. Fraser, was doing it in the schoolyard for a bunch of my schoolmates. And I don't know how I did it, but I just went up to him and said, Mr. Fraser, sir, I'm sorry. This is very embarrassing. You're murdering a Peter Falk impression. I yanked and everything, and I discovered I could do something well.
I remember I was 10 years old and there was this woman, Phyllis, who was running the front desk at Lee Strasberg. And she was so funny with me. I'd be at the 7-Eleven across the street and she'd, run across and say, Alana, I know you across the street smoking marijuana with the homeless. You get your ass over here right now and you learn how to act. And then the phone would ring, she'd say, Lee Strasberg Theater Institute, may I help you please? I never forgot that.
My parents are from Buenos Aires, Argentina, so entonces yo puedo pronunciar algunas palabras, I could hear it. And then my best friend's parents were from Glasgow, Scotland, so if I wasn't listening to Carlitos, no me digas, I was listening to Carlos and Kevin Kett, I was sorry for Pete's sake. So right there, I had an early influence of wanting to imitate people.
I always was doing voices from the time I was My mom did cartoon voices at me,
She would talk like a little baby, what are you doing over there?
and so then I would talk back to her. And people would say, she's never gonna learn to talk normally if you keep doing that.
I knew about voiceovers when I was little. I did Burger King commercials and stuff like that. And then it wasn't until later that I discovered that I could marry the two with, acting and voiceovers, animation.
If you want to do animation, you have to be in LA. This is every single biography you ever hear. Broke, lonely, and no future in sight. Fame was right around the corner. And then they go to commercial. Then we come back and they're famous. Wait a minute. I want to know what they did those mornings when they couldn't get out of bed. What did you do then? What did you do then? I keep having this recurring dream, same thing, that I'm walking down the street and it says fame, and as I get closer to the street, this keeps getting longer and longer and further away from me.
Just know that it's a profession. It needs to be taken seriously. You gotta have fun and never grow up. But at the same time, you gotta really be where the major markets are, and you need to have access to the material. And there's no right or wrong way to do that. It's your own journey. You can't use someone else's journey. It's your own thing.
I slipped my way to the top. In this business.
I think we'll end on Goofy saying he slept his way to the top.